What's going on, everybody? Devin with Team Unknown Racing for another Tech Tip setup video. This is Season 1, Episode 2 on setups. I know the title says Episode 2, and you may be looking around for Episode 1. That happened last night on Facebook Live. We were planning on doing it on Facebook Live series. I don't have good enough internet out here. I had a few people complain about the video kept going in and out of focus. So we're just going to do it through YouTube, and then we're going to upload onto the Facebook team page. What the first episode went over was front end setup, your camber, your caster, front suspension, etc. You can find that video still. It is still up on the team Facebook page, which I will put a link down below. But today, on this episode, and I just want to thank, I didn't think that video was going to go anywhere. It was something I kind of did for 3 or 4 people that had questions at my local track. It turned out to have over, this was less than 24 hours ago, and it had over 1,900 views already. So I just want to thank that's unreal. That's unreal. I can't thank you guys enough. So hopefully we can get somewhere with this YouTube series. A lot of people out there have been looking for a dirt oval, place to go on YouTube for dirt oval, and it's not out there. There's a lot of off-road, but there's no or oval. So that's the whole purpose of this. I hope you guys can hear me all right. The mic kind of it's shit, so I'm using the camera's mic. We'll get a new one in. So on this episode, what I want to talk about is how to read a track when you get to the racetrack. When you show up, unload your car, set up your pit, and you walk over to the track and you take your first look at it. Can you tell what it's going to do throughout the entire night from the second you get there at, say, 5 o'clock when racing starts at 7:30? 95% of the time, if you know what you're looking for, and you've checked the weather, of course, and you know how the weather is going to progress throughout the night, you can more than likely always come up with a very rock solid guesstimation. It is dirt, so you can't be 100%, but you can always come up with, I can walk onto any track and say this is what it's going to do throughout the night. And be pretty damn close. The reason I can do that is just a few things that I do when I get to the track. So the first part of this video is going to be understanding how to read the track, and the second part I'm going to go over, since the first part was front end, we're going to go over rear steer on how to adjust for the track throughout the night, because a lot of people don't believe in rear steer in RC cars. I come from big car. I highly believe in rear steer. Rear steer is an essential tuning tool. You'll be amazed at what it can do for you once you understand how it goes on. So when I first show up to a racetrack, especially one that I don't go to much or I've never been to, there's tracks here, especially the one that I do track prep at. I know what that's going to do all night because I'm there all the time. But on a track that I don't ever go to or I'm new to, or just haven't been to in a while, there's a couple things I will do when I first get to the track. And what you always want to have, I wish I had a bigger one, always have with you when you get to the track is a Sharpie. That is going to be your key tool on reading the track for the most part when you first show up. Throughout the night, you won't use it as much. What I use this Sharpie for is to see how much moisture the track's going to hold. A lot of people will use their Allen tool. They will use a pocket knife. They'll use something sharp. Well, a sharp object is going to go into the ground no matter what. It's kind of the whole point of a sharp object, is to go through stuff. So with a Sharpie marker, what you have is you have the blunt object. It is a blunt. It's not going to hurt somebody if you stab them with it. They might say, "Ow, get the fuck off me." Oh well. Um, what I use this for is I usually will wait 15 minutes after the track is watered for the first time, or the first time after I have arrived. You know, a lot of tracks they'll water throughout the day. So the first time that I see them put water on something after I get to the track is when I will walk out to the track and bring out my trusty Sharpie. What I am doing with the Sharpie, and you gotta wait about 10 minutes after they put down the water to let the water soak into the ground. What I am doing with this Sharpie is I'm walking out on the track, and usually I will do it in the middle of the turn. You know, not the bottom groove, not the high groove, kind of a groove or two up. And then I'll also do this dead center in the middle of the straightaways. I'll walk over and I'll stick it down into the ground with, you know, just putting force on it. You don't have to stand on it. You don't have to hammer it in. Just see how much you can get down into the dirt just by putting a little bit of pressure on it. What that's going to do is that's going to tell you how much moisture that water or the track is holding, and will hold throughout the night. It's going to be kind of hard on those tracks that race in the middle of the day, which I don't like those tracks. You get real dusty, dry slick conditions, which is really fun, but they wear out tires. Dry slick will wear out tires really easily, and if I'm club racing, I don't want to go through an $80 set of tires a night. So anyways, back to where we were on while I'm using this. The easier this goes into the ground, the easier you can push down into the ground. That means the more moisture that track's going to hold. And your main event, you know, later on in the night at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, that's going to tell you how set up that track is. And what I mean by set up is grooved up, hooked up. There's so many different terms. But how much grip is in the track? What I want to know is how much grip is going to be in that track for the main event. I could care less about the qualifiers. I know that bites me in the ass a lot. I sometimes have to fight my way through B mains, C mains to even get up into the A main, starting back, and then work my way from there. But hey, you know, that's more racing for my money. And I like to have a car set up for later on in the night. I don't like chasing setups all through the night. Now, if we go to a big race, then yes, I'm going to chase the setup throughout the entire night, because you have to do that. You have to stay on top of all the qualifiers. When you get 20 to 50 cars show up. When you get 10 cars show up, you're almost guaranteed to main. Set it up for the main event. So what I'm doing is I'm checking to see how much moisture is in that track. The easier that this goes down into the track, the more moisture it holds. The harder it is to push down, the drier that track's going to be throughout the night. And that's going to tell you a lot about what's going to go on. You know, the more moisture that holds, the mains are typically going to start out, you know, the heat races, I'm sorry. The heat races will typically start out greasy, sloppy, muddy, however you want to say it. The less moisture that you're finding when you first get there, you're typically going to have dry slick heat races, which is fun. It makes for a fun setup. I love driving dry slick. So that's typically how you can read a track. Just real quickly, take a Sharpie, shove it in there. How much moisture does it hold? Now to get on to track conditions and explain the different track conditions, is there's generally we'll see one of three, if not all three. I mean, I've been to tracks where it's all three conditions. You're going to, excuse me, you're going to have your tacky, which, I mean, that could be muddy, sloppy, loose, greasy, however you want to call a tacky track. There's so many different terms. I call it tacky. What tacky is it's a wet, just like you can just pick the dirt up and it just tacks into a ball almost. It's wet, it's sloppy, it's muddy almost. You're going to be kind of have a looser setup car on that. It's going to want to slide more. Best way I can describe that is go out to a dusty area, pour some water on the ground and turn it into mud. Now, have you ever slipped and fell on dry dirt? No, you have not. Have you slipped and fell on Mud, yeah, a lot of people have. Mud is just a lot slicker. So you're going to have your car set up one way for that. Another condition is what I was just saying, dry slick. And that is very dusty, hard packed. Contrary to what people believe and what people will try and tell you, and even in the name, dry slick, they think it's slick. It's really not. Your car is actually tight. Your car, if you have it set up right, you know, your car is going to be tight. There's the reason for it being tight when it's dry slick is because your front end has no grip. So therefore you are creating understeer. Your third track condition, and you're typically going to see this towards the end of the night, your main event, your late qualifiers, depending on how late in the night you go, how many cars are run. Once you get the sun off the track, that's our nemesis down here in Texas, is the old sun. So later in the night, you're going to have a third condition, which is grooved up, as I like to say, meaning it has a lot of grip in it. There's moisture held in the track really well throughout the night, and you're just hooked up. You're not slipping, you're not sliding, you're not blowing tires off the corners, you're not looping out. That's also going to create a tight handling car, as you would think, with it being gripped up. Where people get confused a lot is they think the dry slick, they think that means slick. It's really not slick. It is, but it creates a tight handling car because there's no forward bite on a dry slick car. So you're going to have to set it up a little bit different. So now that we have covered that, I'm going to describe and go through how I kind of set up a car in the rear end anyways. And the reason I'm going to go over the rear end is because, like I told you, I'm one of those, I don't like to chase a setup through the entire night. I like to use something that is a very neutral tool that I can change on the fly. I can pull my car over, pick it up, take out my little wrench, turn 2 knobs, and change for the track. The way we do that is with rear steer, or as all people in solely RC people know it as rear tow. Rear steer comes from a big car term. I will go into that here in a minute. Let me get this back cover off so we can show you what we're talking about. Rear steer is, if you can kind of see, my axle points are angled in. Now what rear steer does is the more right of the thrust angle you're going to get, the looser or the tighter the car is going to get. So by getting more steering angle into it, you're helping the car rotate. So the farther towed away from the inside of the corner, I'm going to say, is the more you're going to rotate. It's kind of like a 4-wheel steering dump truck, any of those that have driven dump trucks, 4-wheel drive cars, forklifts even. It basically will tighten up, loosen your car. It'll help you rotate through the corner and help you find the roll center, roll center is how fast the weight transfers from left to right of the car. Now here's how I adjust my rear steer for the track conditions. And we're going to start off with the greasy, you're wet, you're sloppy. It's kind of loose. It's going to affect a loose handling car. I like to get my chassis as low to the ground as possible. Typically, there's not going to be a lot of bumps in the muddy conditions. And when it's muddy out, you don't need a lot of rear steer, so you're going to have more of a neutral. We're going to start saying toe now, so this will help you out a little bit more. Your muddy conditions, you're going to be towed. So the left rear is on rear steer, your left rear is towed in, your right rear is towed out. That's how you create rear steer. As you can tell, it's got quite a bit of rear steer in it just because of the track I was at this past weekend. It was grooved up, it always is, in control in Dale, Texas. When it's muddy out, muddy, tacky, you don't need a lot of rear steer because you're driving it with the throttle. So you're going to want more of a neutral or straighter towed rear end than you would when we progress throughout the night. Now we move on to a dry slick condition. you're going to, like I said, you hear the word slick, so you think slick. It's not slick. You just don't have grip on your front end. So, oh, and let's back up real quick to the muddy. I typically like to run, when it's like that, I like to run a softer front spring and a stiffer rear spring. Just stop the weight transfer isn't as quick and aggressive towards the back, and you're going to be able to get down on the front end, rotate the car through a little bit easier. When it's dry slick out, I like to run a stiff front spring and a softer right rear spring. The reason I do that is you're loading up that rear more, and then you're having more cross weight. We'll go into that in another episode. So I'll run a softer rear spring on dry slick, and I will run probably anywhere, depending on how big the track is, I'll run anywhere from 5 to 6 degrees of toe in, toe out, however you're going to describe it, rear steer. That's what we're going to refer to it as. Now, a lot of people, they will have their left rear towed way in at, say, 8 or 9 degrees, and they'll have this bad boy towed out at 3 degrees. Mine is at 7 and 7. Yeah, 7 and 7. The reason I do that is I don't like a lot of bind in it. So the more you have your left rear towed in and less you have your right rear towed out, so your wheels are kind of looking like this, it creates a lot of bind, and it just doesn't want to rotate freely. So I typically will stay within, say I have my right rear or my left rear towed in at, say, 5 degrees. I don't want to go more than that's 5 degrees in on the left rear. On the right side, I don't want to go more than a degree or 2 away from that number towed out. I like to keep it as symmetrical and straight as possible. I just don't like stuff getting bound up in there, but there's going to be those people that swear up and down, oh, you have to have all the toe in for the corner exit on the right rear or left rear. You have to have a lot of toe out, or toe out is how you get into the corner. On corner entry, just do it all symmetrical, and you're going to be a lot smoother through the corners. So that is how I will typically do that for dry slick. I'm going to run a softer spring in the rear. I'm going to run a softer or a harder right front spring. Sometimes I'll drop it down on the left rear spring rate. Sometimes I'll keep it the same as the right rear. Now for the grooved up conditions, when you have a lot of grip in it, I kind of tend to stay more when there's a lot of grip, the car's rolling, you're not sliding around. I kind of tend to stay towards a more equal spring rate, front and rear. That's just how I set my cars up. A lot of people are going to set it up different. I'll tend to typically keep the spring rate even, and for the rear steer, that really depends on how big the corners are, is how much you're going to need. Your more paper clips, you're going to need more rear steer to rotate it through the corners. The bigger the sweeping corners, the less you're going to need. That's also on bank tracks as well. The more banking you have, the less you're going to need on rear steer. The flatter the track, the more you're going to need it because of the weight transfer on it. I hope I covered everything on that short video. I know that was fast. It's a new series. I'm still kind of camera shy, so in the comments, let me know what you thought, what I did or did not cover on how to read a track real quickly. I mean, there's more to it that we can go in depth on individual episodes, but I just want to get this video rolling, cover a little bit of rear steer, how I set up through the 3 different track conditions. There are more track conditions. There are more things that I will do, But for this series is for the newer people out there that are trying to get into dirt oval, as dirt oval is growing, and I absolutely love seeing dirt oval grow. So that was just a quick video. We'll get more into it. Go ahead, if you like this content, go ahead and like, subscribe. If you don't, cool. That doesn't hurt my feelings. There's just no need for hatred comments. I saw that the other night. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe and let me know what you want in the next video going forward, as I can't think of what to make or what to talk about. The first night was, last night was your front end on your camber and your caster. Had a couple people asking me about that, how I was getting into the corner really easy, which is with cambers, how I use it. I had a couple other people ask me about the rear steer, so that's where this video came from, and how to read a track. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will leave a link to the Facebook page, the team's Facebook page, where the original video is. So go ahead and head over there and check that out if you'd like. And you can either, in the comments here on YouTube, you can ask what you want me to talk about next, or you can